It hasn't rained here for years, and the land in this part of central New South Wales now resembles a desert. There are rivers which no longer flow, and the land is so dry there is nothing for the animals to eat. On the Larkin farm, their crops have failed for the past 3 years. They have been forced to sell some cattle, and others have fallen victim to the elements. They have just a quarter of their herd left.
Everything's relying on you. There's nothing to eat, so if we don't feed them, they don't eat. Basically stopped raining about this time 2016 and hasn't started again.
150 kilometres further south, Kevin Kilby is also struggling. For the first time this year, he's had to buy feed for his sheep. He says this drought is more severe than any his family have had to face.
Rainfall records in Gilgandra go back to 1883, and this, at the moment, this is the driest 3 years in a row we've had on record, Debbie, yes. So far we've had roughly 6 inches of rain, and in a normal year by now we've probably had about 20.
This year's harvest is set to be the lowest in a decade, and the country has been forced to import grain. The drop-off in production has put a premium on cereal and food prices. Australia has long been affected by drought and floods, but rising air, soil and sea temperatures caused by climate change have created more prolonged periods of dry and hot conditions. The situation has become so dire, 10 towns across this region have been given a day zero. A date next year when the taps could run dry.
At this time of year, the water in this section of the Macquarie River should be at least 5 metres above my head, but at the moment there's barely a few inches. And as spring turns to summer, the water shortages here are being compounded by unseasonably high temperatures.
A combination of the parched land and temperatures up to 10 degrees above average has led to an earlier start to the bushfire season. Dozens of homes have been destroyed, and one of the latest fires ripped through a koala sanctuary, killing hundreds of Australia's native animal.
Look, in Australia, climate change is well and truly here and now. The impacts we're seeing are not just the drought, but this extended bushfire season now, which there's 1 month of the year in New South Wales which is bushfire free. It's clear from the scrambling we've had at the federal government level that the country is unprepared for these circumstances. So we're used to dealing with droughts in Australia, and we've got standard formulas and government assistance packages to do that, but this is not a normal drought.
Philippa took us to the latest of her dams to dry up. With summer just weeks away and still no rain in sight, she is worried about the months ahead.
Once those really hot days come, like we're talking 47s, 48s, they're typical out here, the water security goes in front of your eyes. The dams dry up a lot quicker than, what we're seeing at the moment.
In vast parts of rural Australia, water supplies are reaching a critically low level. This is the harsh reality for communities where heat, drought and the environment are being pushed to the extreme by climate change.
It's a sign of desperation, drilling for bore water on top of the Great Dividing Range.
It is a bit hit and miss, so we're churning through the money, we're churning through our reserves.
The Armidale district in northern New South Wales has never had to resort to this before. For this regional city and its rural surrounds, these are unprecedented times.
Everyone says we need the rain today, but in the next month it really needs to happen.
This is a real crisis. This is a real, the drought to end all droughts, unfortunately, so it's pretty tough. It's tough physically, emotionally, mentally, financially, and it's the day-to-day.
Local Deputy Mayor Lib Martin has been living on the land here in the New England district for 33 years. A recent light rainfall has given the paddocks a green tinge, but there's no decent pasture, and the martins are drawing on their savings to hand feed their cattle.
There's a lot of people have sold off all of their stock. We're probably down to about half of ours, and it's probably nearly too many.
How long since you've seen any decent rain here?
It's a number of years. We get a good fall every now and then you get none to follow up.
Rather than tell residents how much water is left in the city's dam, the local council prefers to emphasise how many days left until it runs dry. That number has now dropped to below 400. Finding new sources of groundwater could push back that deadline, but not by much.
It might be a couple of weeks, but that's all. Yeah, it's only a supplement. This is regarded as one of the safest areas in the state. It's a brilliant agricultural area for its lambs, its wool, its beef. Yeah, this is new territory for us.
It's not just farmers, but Armidale businesses that are really feeling the pinch. Sales of farm equipment and support vehicles have plummeted.
We did a bit of a budget a little while ago, and at least 50% down, and it's looking worse, you know, as the weeks go on, really. It's been a steady decline, but it's really hit the bottom. Well, I hope it's hit the bottom now. We don't really know, do we?
One of the region's biggest employers, the Costa Group, has been forced to suspend a planned expansion to its tomato glasshouse operation at Guyra because of water shortages. The drought is undermining Armidale's economy.
We've had plenty of droughts before, but we've had areas that have been okay. So, you know, people have been able to move stock around. It's been doable, but this one it affects so many people. It's that widespread. It's never been seen before.
The impacts are really starting to ripple through the communities now. If you speak to small business owners, they're all having issues. If you speak, obviously the farmers are in the front line, but even the council's having to deal with things that they don't normally have to deal with.
Discovered as a chance hybrid in a nursery.
One of those issues for the council is deciding whether to save Armidale's heritage-listed Central Park. The biggest trees here have been thriving since 1880 and are now being kept alive with bore water.
We're putting the equivalent of about 4 millimetres a week, and we don't know whether that's enough. You know, we'll see how it goes.
The council has now invited the public to donate its own water to save the magnificent 19th century oaks and conifers. Those most at risk are marked by orange ribbons.
Not a day goes past when people don't trot in. You know, sometimes even with a shopping trolley load full of bought water and just leave them soaking on the mulch. So, yeah, it's been great. It's been said to me on many occasions in the last couple of months, well, I'm really glad you're doing something about the park because it makes us feel optimistic.
But water rationing will have to be reassessed if there's no good rain by Christmas. When the dam behind me was opened in 1968, it was thought it would drought-proof the Armidale region. There were estimates it could support a population of up to 60,000. Well, today, the Malpas Dam is struggling to support a regional population of less than half that.
I can remember as a child, you know, we've got this endless water supply. Armidale's just is so well set up.
Malpas Dam was built for roughly double the size of the population it is now. So we've had tough times, we've had tough springs, we've had tough summers, but we've never had this sort of extended year and more going on now.
So for now, residents of the Armidale region are doing their best to recycle water and keep their hopes alive. And when the drought does finally break, Liv Martin says the community will still face serious challenges. The economy will take a long time to bounce back, and there's also the question of climate change. But under climate change modelling, these events are going to become more common.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So that means that we need to be more prepared for what's in front of us, as well as looking at ways to stop it progressively getting worse.
Armidale has had dry times before, but this drought, many here argue, is different.
I just wish at some point the government would take it seriously that we really are in crisis, because I still believe a lot of them think that if it rains we're going to be happy days, and we all know that that's not how it works and how it rolls.